NFL back, week 11. It was quite an interesting weekend for the NFL this past weekend. Some juicy games, some interesting endings, some thrillers. The field goal filled Sunday.
Oh, it was. It really was.
Of winners. Talk about a weekend to have a good kicker.
Absolutely. I mean, the kickers were the storyline this weekend. I think we had, 5 game-winning field goals at the buzzer? So, a crazy week. Let's get into the recap. Game 1, this was our only loss. Jaguars getting trounced at home by the Niners. Should have seen it coming, but everyone was betting the Niners. It just felt like maybe a Jag spot. Unfortunately, it wasn't.
I forgot we were on this I think we were on everything last week, except for maybe one.
Yeah, pretty much. No, we were together on all of them.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
Still a good week, though.
Yeah, we're 3-1-1, full disclosure. Justin, 24-25-2, great bounce back. I'm 28-24-2. But, yeah, that Jags game, that was a masterclass of being terrible. I mean, anything and everything that went wrong for the Jaguars. And Trevor Lawrence looks like he forgot how to play QB. I don't know what we're watching, but it's not the Trevor Lawrence that I thought we'd get for 2023.
And they weren't even coming off a bye.
They were?
They were?
Yes.
So both teams were off a bye.
Yes.
Which is sad.
And one team looked ready to go, and one team looked like they were still vacationing.
Hey, Brock Purdy hit those cornfields, and he got back to it. But he also had Trent Williams back. He had Ayuk back. Yep. So different factors.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what more can be said, man. Just what an interesting case that was. I mean, whatever.
Can't buy in too early, though.
We'll see.
Anyway.
Game 2. Texans, Bengals, C.J. Stroud. Is he the MVP? I mean, come on, man. The stats are unreal. They're winning these thrilling games. Plus 6.5. That was all day. All day.
I can't give him the MVP. I think he can be in the conversation, but I can't give it to him.
Who's it going to then?
It's a tough question.
I'm giving it to Stroud. He's played the best football. Out of any QB in the NFL, he's playing the best, at least right now. Maybe it's a little recency bias, but the dude is balling.
Yeah, I can't give it to him.
You won't give it to him.
I can't.
Well, there's one thing that's for certain, and then we can move on. He has completely debunked the Ohio State quarterbacks cannot play in the NFL theory.
I agree with that.
That's one thing that he has completely debunked.
Which is unfortunate for all the other guys in the past. But true. Here you go.
It wasn't Justin Fields. It's C.J. Stroud. Game 3, Brownies getting it done. What a game that was.
I was so shocked.
Unfortunately, Deshaun Watson now out for the year. Are you kidding me? Deshaun, done. He finished the game. They got the win. And then you get the news this week, season-ending shoulder injury or shoulder surgery.
Yep.
So
some bone issue in his shoulder, which is crazy. That hopefully it's not any kind of ligament issue, rotator cuff, or anything like that, because that can be troublesome. But if he's out for a while, he'll be fine for next season at that point. But, man, the Browns were making an interesting run, because he was hurt a lot. But when he was on the field, they played better. Yeah, they had one loss or two with him, but still, man, you can't, without him, not saying DTR is bad, but it's going to be hard to ride DTR anywhere.
I agree. I mean,
no Nick Chubb.
It sucks because this Browns team, they're fun to watch. They play awesome defense. It's just, you're missing Chubb now. You're missing Deshaun Watson. Just the playmakers on offense are not there. And this team, honestly, Super Bowl caliber when everything is right. But there's just way too many injuries. Right, Jedrick Wills got hurt too. Their best offensive lineman. They've just been decimated. I don't think anyone's been really hurt more than they have at those key positions on offense. And it doesn't really matter how well the defense plays. There's just not enough on offense for them to overcome. Now, I do think that they could still sneak in as a wild card team. I think they're kind of firmly out of the running for the AFC North crown. I think that's probably going to go to Baltimore. But you still don't want to face them because of that defense. It's just what could have been. And that deal for Deshaun Watson, it just gets worse and worse every single year. You didn't have him for 11 games last year, and when he came back, he looked really rusty this year. I mean, he's a part-time player basically, right? I think he's only played 12 games so far in his Cleveland career. It just has not gone well for the Brownies. And it's unfortunate because that fan base, they didn't ask for Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't ask for all this.
They didn't ask for the guaranteed money.
Right, but it's here now, and that's just what it is. Game 4, Kyler Murray getting it done at home.
Mm-hmm.
What a thrilling game that was. Matt Prater at the buzzer as well. But the real play of the game was that scramble by Kyler Murray. I believe he ran 68 yards or something like that for like an 11-yard gain.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. The dude, you can tell the difference when he's on the field. He looked like he picked up right where he left off. He did not look limited by that injury, torn ACL at all.
Which was very interesting. He played like there was no worry, no fear. The injury never happened. He wasn't wearing a brace or anything, which some guys do right off the bat,
Right.
you know, with concern. But he just hopped right back into it, and he was on the move. He was thrown on the run. So, I mean, you know, respect to him. He's playing like his old self. And a big discussion was that, you know, maybe the injury, you know, seeing like, you know, the transition of Dobbs and just being outside the huddle, even though you're involved, maybe that was a growing period for him that really helped him, you know, mature a little bit in the offseason. I know that was a big discussion, you know, is he, you know, he immature in these situations? Can he handle this? So maybe he had a lot of maturing, and he's just here to play. He's here to play ball. He's not going to worry about all these aspects around him. He's back to play. So
and you know what? All I've heard is positive things too, right? We've only heard he's hungrier than ever,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's been at the facility every day. He's working. He seems like a different player,
Mm-hmm.
a different person, if you will. And the franchise has bought back in, right? I know there's a little bit of a scandal with their owner, right? Michael Bidwell. That's a concern. But Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon, it seems like they got the GM and the coach right, because this is a team now that has an identity. They seem to be playing physical, hard football week in, week out. And I know it hasn't resulted in a ton of wins, right? They're still 2-8, but they've been competitive in a lot of these games. And
with what they have, too.
And now you have 2 picks in the first round next year, and you don't need a quarterback. Kyler Murray is still the guy. And while some people might be out on him, you can see that they can win football games with him. And when he's healthy, he's a top 12 QB easily, without a doubt. You add in a Marvin Harrison Jr., and now that offense is back to humming, and
it's true,
you can fill out the rest of the picks on defense.
Yeah, because the O-line isn't as terrible. You got, what's his name in the draft from Ohio State this past year?
Paris Johnson.
You got him. If you could bring Marvin,
stellar.
Yeah, and if you trust that line, you got bring Marvin Harrison in. If Brown can be somewhat adequate, you know, and then you find a guy
that's a great number 2.
Yeah, and then you find a guy in the slot, and Trey McBride, the 3rd round pick, has been great.
He's been awesome.
So and at that point, you just need to build up the defense and find a true runner, right, in the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, they still have James Conner, who they trust in a lot, but you could add a speed back potentially to pair.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to have a ton of capital in the next couple of drafts to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And they're setting themselves up nicely. I never really bought into the Arizona's going to draft the QB hype. They have Kyler Murray on the hook for a big contract, but you can win games with Kyler Murray. Like, I didn't really get the whole...
They've been to the playoffs.
We're going to replace Kyler. First of all, I didn't really think a team would trade for that contract, and I think Arizona would be making a big mistake getting rid of Kyler Murray, because then you have to build up a quarterback, whereas you could just keep him around and build around everything else. And we saw it with the Lions, too. Reaffirm your faith in the QB that's good. You don't want to go back in the wilderness and take a quarterback that you're not really sure of, but you're sure of Kyler Murray, and the coaching staff and the front office, they seem to be bought in on Kyler.
Exactly. There's too much. Even though, you know, I'm not the main fan of Kyler Murray per se. There's too much. There's too much that you know about him, and there's too much risk stepping away from him. Like you know he's a good player. Like you can't doubt that. You didn't take him number 1 for no reason, and he hasn't shown he hasn't shown any signs of being like a bust ever.
No,
you know?
he's not a bust.
Exactly. I know, and it's a rare occasion when a number 1's a bust, but
he certainly hasn't been.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's been in the mix for one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah,
like that's what he's been, and it's only been recently. And I put a lot on Cliff Kingsbury. Right, it just wasn't the right system. It felt like
it was just forced.
Yeah, that's a perfect word. So well done for the Cardinals. They're back on our board this week, and what a fun matchup that should be. But Game 5 that we covered last week, it's a push for us. Lions -3. What a performance from the Lions to get it done in the end. The defense, a bit of a concern for most, but truthfully, when you find yourself in a shootout, I mean,
especially against Herbert and the way he was slinging it,
it's like, am I really gonna be too? I'm not gonna be too critical of the defense. I mean, look, and this is not really apples to apples here, but I was kind of thinking about it before we did the show, and I was like, you know what? I watched a clip not too long ago of Joe Burrow and LSU against Tua in Alabama. And that game ended like 49-45, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolute shootout.
That
Offense
game.
is going back and forth. Sometimes you just find yourself in one of those games. And that's not that the defense is bad. It's just the offenses were on. They were hot. The coordinators were hot. And everything was clicking on offense for both teams. And it's just whoever had the ball last was going to win, right? It's not to say the defense was bad. It's just the offenses were playing at an elite level that day. And that's the kind of game it was.
And Dan Campbell had to make that decision. He didn't want that ball to be in Herbert's hands going down the field.
What a call. Gutsy. 4th and 2. You go empty, basically, to Laporta in the middle. I mean, I get so nervous when Goff is empty on like a 4th down. Like, can we just run the ball for 2 yards, please?
I know. It's a fair
put the faith in Ben Johnson and Goff.
But it's, and it was tough. And I'll tell you what, I believe in Goff. I believe, he'll probably be here, after this offseason. But for how much he probably practices, how often is he practicing the duck? You know what I mean by that? Throwing the ducks. I mean, how many duck balls was he throwing? Amon-Ra, Jameson are literally having to scoop it by their fingertips off the ground.
Yeah.
And to think about how many times Jameson Williams could have had, 30 yards if the ball had just been to his hands?
That one play, and I know what you're talking about, where it was Jamo's first catch of the game, not the play that got called back on a very weak penalty, by the way. That should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
But the one where Jamo was open for about 5 seconds, and then he finally gets the ball, and he has to come back for it and dive to make the catch. Yeah. There needs to be better play from Goff, I think. But at the same time, he had a phenomenal game.
He did, yeah. It's tough. It's tough to debate. Right?
I think you want to see him make the throws on a more consistent level, because if he does that, right, that if he gets it to JMO immediately, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I think you're seeing that where, okay, we like what we see from Goff, but there's more.
Yeah.
Right? There's room to grow, and there's more that could be there's more meat on the bone for this offense,
which is good. You're looking the fact that is like a partial negative right now is that just you need to fix that slight throwing difference, and you can, but the difference it can make truly though after the fact. Right,
and that's all film. They're going to go over that. Goff, it's probably in the film room this week on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever they, were looking over plays from last week. He was probably like, I missed him, right? I should have hit him earlier. And that throw to Amon-Ra, that went for a touchdown, right? That was at his toes. Goff will be the first person to say, you saved me on that one, right? So, and not every throw is going to be perfect, but what the thing is about this team is that they're playing winning football. They're gutsy. They're relentless. And they can win in a close one. They can win in a shootout. They've seen it now time and time again. It's just these blips where the defense looks completely lost. And Seattle was 1. Baltimore was 2. And I guess you could call this one number 3, although I don't really hold this one as much as I do the other ones, because Herbert was just making some throws you cannot defend. Whereas Geno Smith, it was play action pass every single time. Roll out, hitting the tight end, hitting Lockett. It was like, come on, can we stop him? And then Lamar, he had all day to throw. So those are the 2 ones where I'm like, the defense, that was a concern. This past one, I'm not going to hold it too far against them.
Crazy, we're 3-0 against the AFC West.
One more. Broncos coming in. And not a pushover anymore.
No, not anymore. But it's huge that it's at home.
Right.
Be tough going to Mile High.
I agree.
But that was a rundown. We always make it long. Nice NFL rundowns we always get into it, and it's always funny. All right. Enough said. Week 11. Beautiful game first.
Whew.
Cardinals on the road in Houston. Texans favored by 4.5. Stroud and Kyler meet up for the first time.
What a game this is going to be.
I bet you that's probably your favorite game of the week.
It is. This is going to be an awesome game. 2 of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL right now going head-to-head. But more importantly, it's just 2 teams that seem to be on a nice upward trajectory. And I love seeing that because this is really the culmination of some really tough times in both Arizona and Houston.
The trades. The Bill O'Brien era for both of them is over.
Right. Like, it just feels like it's been so down for both of these teams for so long. And now maybe, just maybe, this is a sign of things to come.
Mm-hmm.
The number, though, I don't love. 4.5. It's a tough one to pick. Like, I want to watch this game as just a fan and not worry about it, but I had to put it on the slate because we got to talk about it. To me, I don't really know where to go.
Because you love what one team can do, but you're like, oh, they could, but the other team, they could just do it. They could just be right there.
I'm so in between. I'm so indecisive. The public is on Arizona. 64% of the bets on the Cards at plus 4.5 here. So my gut is telling me Cardinals. My brain is telling me Texans. But I gotta go. I gotta go with my day one, man. I'm gonna stick with Kyler. I think this team is good. Like, I do. With Kyler Murray, I think this team is good. They're not great, but
he's got a game under his belt now.
Right, and I think the difference from Josh Dobbs, who I know is winning games in Minnesota right now, but what Kyler Murray can do for this offense is what Josh Dobbs simply could not. I'm going to take the Cardinals to cover. I think Houston can still win this one, but these two teams, they played close games last week. I think this is going to be much more of the same. It should be a fun one, though. I think there's going to be a lot of offense. And yeah, maybe Matt Amendola for Houston hits a game winner.
Another one.
Like that. We'll see. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals here, plus 4.5.
I'll tell you what, I really want to take the Texans. I really do. I think them at home, Tank Dell back. I believe
potentially Nico Collins.
Yeah, potentially Nico Collins. I mean, everything is pointing to me to Texans. But I'm taking the Cards with you. I'm believing in Kyler back-to-back weeks.
Explain.
I think the upside for that Houston, coming off of that win in the jungle on the road, it was a close one. Burrow, unfortunately, they kind of fumbled that one. We know it was Tyler Boyd kind of fumbled that one. But I think there's something. I think like we talked about, the maturity and just the change up in the confidence of Kyler going forward. It's gonna exude throughout the team. Their quarterback is back, right? The guy they know, the guy they believe in, the guy they trust, and I think. I also think the Houston defense is not going to be used to a quarterback like him. They're going to be used to just trying to collapse the pocket, right, and not seeing too many quarterbacks on the run. Not that there's a lot of a lot of quarterbacks are mobile these days because they need to be, but I think they're not used to a quarterback that can move like that can throw like that. They're going to be a little more concerned about him on the run, and they're not. They may be the coverage may be a little more broken downfield for him to make those plays. So, even though I really think I should take the Texans, I'm going to be on the Cards.
Okay.
Does it stress you out that I took the Cards?
No. I was kind of hoping it in a way.
I got it on paper.
I'm biased. The fact that you're a little unbiased here, seeing it clearly, a bit more clearly than I can, I like that you're on Arizona. So yeah. Let's hop on to game 2 here, which is going to be a battle.
Battle times, baby. Battle times. Dang. Game 2. Steelers head to what is it?
The mistake by the lake. Cleveland.
Browns without Deshaun.
No Deshaun Watson.
At home, favored by 1.5.
And everyone is on Pittsburgh. 72% of the bets are on the Steelers. And you know what we do in those situations?
Fade.
We fade the public. This is all Browns. This is screaming Browns. And I'm going to tell you why. The first game that these two teams played, the Steelers had 2 defensive touchdowns.
4 turnovers for the Browns.
All right? That is not going to happen again. This defense for Cleveland is going to make Kenny Pickett's life a living hell. And you're just not going to be able to run on this team. I don't think the Steelers offensive line can push around this Browns offense or their Browns offensive line.
I was looking at the stats for this game, the past game, and I think the Browns offense had almost 500 yards total, and the Steelers barely had over 2. Barely offensively and overall yards. They had pretty much double the amount of offensive yards, but because of those 4 turnovers, they lost that game. And you know what's unfortunate? Even though they got the TJ Watt got that scoop and score at the end of the game, there were still 7 minutes left. And Cleveland couldn't get it done.
I know.
So it's tough. This is such a sketchy game, man. You know what happens with me and the Browns. Apparently if I take them, they lose. If I don't take them, they win. I don't know where to go with this one, man. I really don't. I don't know how the Steelers are 6-3. Like Tomlin's doing something sneaky. And you know, if something falls, you have the scapegoat like James Franklin at Penn State. The OC is the scapegoat waiting to be moved. I can't take the Browns. I'm going to take the Steelers.
That is going to be your downfall.
You know,
it starts now.
Let it happen, man. Because it doesn't matter who I pick.
You know what happens when you don't pick the Browns.
Yeah, but you know what happens when I do pick them? They lose.
You picked them last week, and what happened? They won.
Yeah, but that was with Deshaun Watson. DTR is such a concern.
They got Kenny Pickett on the other side. He's just as bad.
I know. Drew, I hope you're happy with this one.
Game 3.
Our boys are back in town for Game 3. The Bears. Still, I believe, without Fields, head to Detroit.
Fields is appearing to be back.
Oh, Lions favored by 7.5 at home. How are we feeling? Will he be back? Will he start?
I think he's playing. Yeah, so.
Does that concern you?
You know what? I'm not as concerned about Fields playing, but the spread is just, it's giving me fits, man.
Because half? Or just because it's that high?
You know, it was out to 9.5. Now it's down to 7.5. I think that's with the Justin Fields news becoming a bit more clear.
Probably going to be, I bet you it's going to be like 5.5 or 6 probably at game time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's just 75% of the public is on the Lions. I mean, they've been a cover machine all year long. But the mobile QB's kind of been an issue for them.
It has.
And I don't want to ignore
Sweat on that line.
Exactly, and I don't want to ignore that. But this Bears' run defense, it's not great, but it's been better. And
our running backs have been great.
They've been great. So, like, I do feel like there's, like, just the Ford Field, the Lions are great. They're, like, right? Like, that all can play into a Lions cover here.
Coming off a win in L.A.
Look, I'm going to take the Bears plus 7.5. I don't want to do it. But honestly, this is going to sound ridiculous, but if the Lions were on the road at minus 7.5, I'd be pounding the table all day. But at home, it almost feels a little small, which is why I'm going to take the Bears.
You think it should be bigger?
In a way, like this number feels smaller than it is, so that's why it's discouraging me from taking the Lions. Like it almost feels too easy.
That's too easy.
Which I guess is kind of like a backwards way of looking at it. And I don't want to trip up the audience here, so I'm not going to. I just think you're coming off a big win against LA. You hit a game-winning field goal. You come back home. You get a Bears team that's getting Justin Fields back in the mix, right? He could look bad, but he could also look pretty good in extended plays. I mean, this game last year in Chicago was a thriller, right? Justin Fields, if you get that version of him where he's on.
And still have to go to Chicago, too. Gosh.
I just don't know. For me, like, Fields lets you sack him, but this pass rush just hasn't been there, really. And I'm not sure if Fields is going to get brought down once this game. He's got some nice rapport with DJ Moore. I think he's going to benefit from that a lot. I just see it as there's a lot of factors giving me Bears vibes. I don't think they win this game, but, I mean, the Lions could win this one 31-24, and
the half hurts,
no one's really batting an eye, right? I mean, you win by 7 in the NFL, you'll take it any day of the week. You don't have to win every game by 50.
You're up 2 touchdowns with a minute left, and then something trash happens because you don't care, and then
right, they could be up 10, and the Bears kick a field goal to cut to 7, the onside kick, Lions get it, kneel down, we're out of here, right? I mean, that happens all the time. So 7.5, that hook is really tripping me up. I'm going to take the Bears.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because if if the pass rush can't get to him, right? Does that allow him to sit in the pocket more and have to throw? Because if it's a Fields throwing day, you just got to stay on DJ Moore.
Right, but it's just I'm not convinced that this secondary and this pass rush is going to make Fields' job hard right now. Just based off of what we saw last week against Herbert, Fields is not Herbert by any means, and the Spurs offense doesn't even compare. But we can't ignore what we've seen either. And the mobile QBs that we have seen, Geno Smith, who's a bit mobile, not the greatest of mobile, Lamar, and Herbert, who can extend plays, get outside the pocket, they've been able to find success. So that's where I just get tripped up.
I'm not taking the Bears.
I know.
No way. I'm taking the Lions. I don't even need to answer any questions. I'm only here so I don't get fined. Kidding.
Wow.
No. Lions are going to win this one. And it's true. I think the value in this game is, like you said, we can watch and evaluate the defense more due to the mobile quarterback situation. Because that seems to be a trouble for us.
Right.
100%. And I don't know. It'll just be interesting to see what we do, Because don't sleep on Roschon Johnson in the backfield. I know it may not be all that, but he's still a good runner. And, if Fields can make the move, fake the ball, get around, you can't sleep on the Bears still, especially if Justin Fields is back and he can play, don't sleep on the Bears. But I still think the Lions get it done. Now, if Tyson Baguette plays, it'll be a different story. Anyways, go Lions. You got the Bears. Let's ride. Game 4. This is such an interesting game. Seattle heads to LA, where any fan base can take over the stadium. The Rams are not favored. The Seahawks are favored on the road by 1. After coming off that survival game against the Commanders. And the Rams get Stafford back. Yeah. And the Rams blew out Seattle week 1 in Seattle. And the Seahawks have looked good, but honestly, if you look back at their games, they've won okay. They've won okay. They haven't been just being fancy and dominating games. No. They got beat up by the Ravens. They survived against the Commanders and Sam Howell, who has been slinging it like nobody's business, which is unfortunate for the Commanders because they have been having losses. But, this is a weird game, man. It's a weird game. But with Stafford back, anything's possible.
Is this spread weird to you?
Absolutely.
What are we doing? It's weird.
You take the weird side.
Take the weird side. What side do you think's the weird side?
The Rams +1.
This guy knows. This guy's onto something. Yeah, it's Rams +1 all day. The public is right there with you, though. 64% of the bets are on the Rams. You're right about game 1, right? The Rams game, that win. It might be fair to say, let's do it again at home. I agree. I'm taking the Rams all day. I don't believe in Seattle. I think they've had some nice wins, but that defense is a bit shaky. I know they got some good cornerbacks, and they might make it tough for Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but Brian Robinson absolutely torched them last week. This Rams team, they want to run the football. They can do it. I know it's not the greatest collection of backs, but they've shown an ability to run the football, and there's a willingness to run the football as well. I think the Rams can control this one. Geno Smith, not as comfortable on the road. I don't really believe in him, even though this might not be a road environment per se, because you're going to the Rams, who, SoFi just is always filled. It's half and half.
Everybody. You might have some Niners fans there.
I'm just not as convinced about Geno Smith going into LA, a team that he's already lost to this season. And quite frankly, I do think this is a spot for the Rams to get it done. I do. So I'm going to go with the Rams here. Geno Smith on the road this season too. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 84.2 pass rating, 921 yards passing.
Mid.
It's not that special. And you compare that with his home stats, just really quick here. 93 pass rating, 1,250 yards passing, 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in just one more game at home. So completely different player at home, it appears, as opposed to on the road. That, for me, is enough to take the Rams. I'm going LA all day.
I'm going to make this short and sweet. Stafford's back. Trust the crazy side. Go Rams.
Whose house?
Our house.
Such a dumb chant.
We took the Rams, I think, last year in like an interesting game like this, and they paid out. I think it was against the Niners.
Was it the Niners?
I think so. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but I know we took them in an odd slot last year. It might have been against the Cowboys.
No, it was against the Broncos.
Was it? You sure? I know it was at home.
It did not work against the Broncos.
I know it was in LA. Anyway, go Rams. You know this would be way different if Stafford wasn't playing.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Probably like 6. All right. The big one. This could be the biggest game of the year right here.
It could be.
Eagles off the bye and Chiefs off the bye. We're in Kansas City. Chiefs favorite at home, -2.5. Man, oh man. A Super Bowl rematch just before Thanksgiving week. Talk about a wild Monday night, man.
One of the best Monday night games we've seen in years.
Probably.
Really. Monday night, you typically get a good, not great matchup. This is a phenomenal matchup. ESPN is getting spoiled with this one. 58% of the bets are on the Eagles per the Action Network. Interesting, right? The road side getting the love from the public. I haven't really bought into the Eagles yet. But you know what I also haven't bought into? This Chiefs offense.
Mm-mm.
A terrible loss against the Broncos, scoring 9 points, no touchdowns.
You could argue they survived in Germany.
Right.
Off of a Tua mishap, you know?
If Miami just stayed disciplined and didn't let their ego get ahead of them, and if Tua didn't turn the ball over as much as he did, we're talking about a Miami Dolphins win probably. But that's the difference maker between the Chiefs and the Dolphins, is the Chiefs don't make those mistakes, hardly ever. For me, though, I'm not going to get caught up in the Swift and Kelsey family meeting. I'm not going to get caught up in the brotherly love or what New Heights podcast.
Well, Swift won't be there.
Families are meeting, though.
Are they?
The families are going to be there.
They're just ditching her?
Are you sure Taylor's not going to be there?
She's on tour in Argentina.
That was last week. Is she still there?
She's supposed to still be there because she's supposed to be on tour for the next month.
Look, you know her tour better than I do. But Swift and Kelsey, the families are meeting at this
That's
game.
crazy. If she's there, you know what's wild? Because she grew up, if anything, an Eagles fan.
She is, yeah. She grew up an Eagles fan.
Change the game. Is she gonna rock that Mama Kelsey split jacket?
She might be.
Could you imagine?
No idea. But what did we pick for the Super Bowl? Or what did I pick? I picked the Eagles, right?
You did. Did you go Eagles-Niners? Oh, in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl.
We both took Eagles.
We took the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
And what did it do? It didn't work.
Nada.
I'm not making that same mistake again. This is the Super Bowl rematch, and I think the same exact thing happens. I'm going with the Chiefs at home, Arrowhead, night game. They want to make a statement. They want to right the wrong that was the Broncos' loss, and you do it in this spot here. Give me the Chiefs -2.5. I'm not usually on the Mahomes side, but in this one, I will be. And if they fail, I'm going to be pissed.
Props to the Eagles.
I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
But I just have not been convinced that the Eagles are really all that. The pass defense looks wacky, and Jalen Hurts, there's something going on with his knee. He's not the same mobile guy that he was last year.
Even with a bye week, he's probably still going to be a little funky.
There's something going on there. So give me the Chiefs.
I'll tell you what, man. I've bounced around, you know. I've picked the Eagles a bunch of weeks. I picked the Chiefs a bunch of weeks. Chiefs did get bailed out back in Minnesota in that game.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of survive against the Dolphins, if in somewhat of a way, because that game was not that great of a game. Let's be honest. Philly on the road, man. Great team. Going to be a good environment. I can't, in good faith, disrespect my logic in this one. There's no gut. I don't have any guts on any of this. You trust the boy who's done it before, and you trust Mahomes at home. Mahomes is going to get this done. Swift there or not, because apparently there's word on the street that the families will be meeting.
There'll be a meeting of the families.
Which is pretty crazy. I don't think she'll be there. Maybe I'll look it up later. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm sorry, Jason. You're the better brother. You're the cooler guy. But Travis and Patrick Mahomes are going to win this one. And it's going to be interesting to see because there's going to be a lot of discussion. Because the only team with one loss currently is the Eagles. And the Lions are tied in second place in the NFL, record-wise, with the Chiefs. And technically, by defeated split decision, right? By the win, the Lions are ranked second, would be the second best team in the NFL.
Record-wise.
So, record-wise. And if the Eagles fall, there's a lot of discussion, right? There's a lot of discussion to be had.
One seed on the horizon.
Brewing, right? Man, look, I have to partially rescind my disrespect when I was being like, oh, it's unfortunate, but, we probably expected to be 1-1 at this point. When we were talking about the Seahawks loss?
Yep.
That Seahawks loss really sucks right now.
It does.
It really sucks. Could have had it. I'm really hoping for a good Rams week this week, I'll tell you what. But Chiefs are going to win this. Yes, I think there's something going to be suspect all the rest of the season. I don't care if he had a week off. There's going to be something suspect about his knee the rest of the season. He's going to try and shake it off. If he gets a bad hit, if Chris Jones gets a grab of him, it's going to be a tough day. So, go Chiefs, unfortunately. I hate to say that.
That Chiefs defense, man, it is tough.
Which is crazy to think over the past couple of years.
They're now a defensive team. Like, truthfully, that's their identity now. Like, their identity is through that defense.
And that's huge, because if you have your identity for the Chiefs, if it's through the defense, and you got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on the other side, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. I mean, they could strike at any moment.
It's wild because, really, you saw that game against the Lions. We all did.
Mm-hmm.
And the offense only scored 14 points, right? It was a battle for the Lions to put points up on the board. And if it weren't for some great defensive plays that the Lions made and some fortunate plays on the back end too, right? A couple of drops, but we'd be talking about the Lions losing that game more likely than not.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is they won, and it was because of a couple of plays that really separated them. Like, most games only come down to a couple plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what the Lions did in that one was they made just a couple more plays than the Chiefs did. The Chiefs, all season long, though, have been making a couple more plays than everyone else, right? In that game against Miami, they made a couple more plays. In that game against, who else did they? I'm forgetting who they played, but another one of their close ones. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm trying to think.
They're all jumbled. How about the Chargers game, though? Right? They made some more defensive plays, right? They forced a couple turnovers. That is what the Chiefs have been doing all year long. Is they've just been making a couple more plays on the other side, and they've kind of been getting by a couple of these ones. But their defense looks so dominant. That's really who they are now. Is they run through that defense, and it's Mahomes doing enough to get them over the edge. And they remind me a lot of past Brady teams where the defense was more of the star, and the Pats offense, it was pretty much just Brady and Gronk.
And they just got it done.
And they just got it done. And that's really what they are currently. Now, I'm not saying it's the same, but that's kind of what I get when I think of this current Chiefs team. They're just making a couple more plays. They don't look the best, but when it comes to playoff time, no one is going to want to play that defense. It is truly dominant.
It's going to be a Swifty Thanksgiving. If she's back.
We'll see. Let's run it down. Game 1, Cardinals heading to Houston to take on CJ Stroud, the MVP. I'm playing. But me and Justin both on the Cardinals plus 4.5. Let's get it done, K1.
We'll see
Game
what happens.
2, The Steelers head to Cleveland. The mistake by the lake is going to poison Justin's parlay or whatever he's doing this weekend.
It's gonna.
Steelers
gonna happen,
plus 1.5.
dude.
That's Justin's pick. I'm on the Brownies minus 1.5.
You should be glad I'm not the Browns because they'd lose if I picked them.
No, they wouldn't. I promise you, they're getting this done. Bears head to Detroit to take on the Lions. I'm on the Bears. I hate it, but I got to do it. And Justin is on the Lions minus 7.5.
Crazy.
Rams, Seahawks. Rams at home plus 1. Me and Justin both on the home dog here. Whose house?
Our house.
What a dumb shit. And then Game 5 Monday night, ESPN, primetime, Arrowhead. The Chiefs welcome in the Eagles. Me and Justin both on the Chiefs. Cannot wait for that one. Minus 2.5. What a game it's going to be. How about them Chiefs?
It's crazy, man. No, Eagles won't be flying. They're going to get shot down by the flying arrows.
I hope so.
I'll tell you what, man. It's going to be a wild one. We're on 3, opposite on 2. Will be interesting. I can't believe you're against the Lions, man. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
I think they're going to find themselves in a closer game.
When you've gone against them, you've lost.
Yeah. I wanted to go against them so bad for some of those games in the past where I just couldn't do it.
It's fair.
And
you'll always think about that Panthers game in the back of your mind.
That game haunts me forever. I literally said it. I was sitting right here. I said, this game scares the crap out of me.
It's true. All right, folks. Whoa. Week 11 coming at you. A lot going on next week. Thanksgiving week.
Woo. Thanksgiving episode, and then
triple the action next week.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving special, college football, if you're obviously watching the end of this for next week, and an NFL Sunday. It's going to be a fun one.
Cannot wait.
Gonna still have pick. Gonna have a Twitter pick still.
We have the Twitter pick out. You'll already see it. Thursday Night Football. Got 2 picks for you there, and then we'll have another one this week to make up for last week. I was gonna take the Broncos plus 7.5. Forgot to tweet it out. Forgot to make the pick overall. Got caught up in some schoolwork.
So you didn't get ruined by it in general.
And the Broncos won the game. Shout out Russ.
Crazy.
Let Russ cook. But we got Keaton Mitchell anytime. Touchdown tonight. Plus Ravens minus 3.5. So those you'll already have seen on Twitter potentially. And then we'll have another pick this weekend. Might be college, might be pro. Haven't decided yet.
Quick, little short and sweet answer before we dip out of here for you. Is the window for the Bills Super Bowl closed?
No, it's not. Because, and I know I'm not the biggest Josh Allen supporter, but to say it's closed would be a bit premature. I think.
Is it closing?
I don't think it's closing. I think they have no shot this year. But that doesn't mean you can't retool. You can't find a way to make this team better for next season, right? They're 5-5 right now. You might have to do some switching up of the coaching staff. You might have to add in a real offensive player. Maybe you bring in a T. Higgins who might be available in the offseason, right? You might have to make some more investments in this offensive attack because it really has been a bit shaky. But it's also, the statistics are there. It's just I think you want to see it a bit more consistently, maybe invest in the offensive line, get healthy on the defensive end. They've suffered massive injury there. So I don't think it's closed. I don't think it's closing. I just think it's temporarily out of stock.
Not looking up right now.
Like right now, it's
stalled.
Right. I think
the Bills Mafia wagon is stalled.
It's like an elevator that is out of service right now, right? And it's stuck at like floor 3. So if there's
needs some fixing before it can go up.
Right. If there's a way for this team and GM Billy Bean to get it fixed, it won't be right here, right now. It'll be in the off season.
Billy Bean.
I don't even think that's his name. It's something Bean.
I don't
Brandon
know, but
Bean.
that makes me think of Billie Jean. Billy Beans.
Something Bean.
It's all right.
Yeah, I'm not totally out on the Bills yet. I think It would take a lot for me to say they'll never have a chance again. Like, for me, the Bills are, I don't know. They're in this really weird spot right now where this offseason is going to be a big determinative of what happens going forward. It could be closed if they don't make some changes. Like, if they don't switch it up a little bit, if they don't find a way to make this right, and then we're at this same point next year and it's the same deal, yeah, I think it's fair to say, like, they're never going to reach that potential.
Fair enough. All right. See you guys next week. Peace.